Welcome to Boots on the Ground podcast, the podcast where we break down Infor Cloud Suite Industrial and how it's powering manufacturing companies. In every episode, we will explore how ERP transforms operations, streamlines production, and drives real results in the manufacturing world. Whether you're running a plant, leading IT, or just trying to make sense of digital transformation, this is where tech meets torque. Let's get into it.
All right. Brandon,
what's going on?
What's going on, man? We are on our 5th episode of Boots on the Ground podcast. How about that?
Can't believe it. I thought we were on 3 or 4, but time flies.
I know, all right. We're getting good views, as we just heard from our team. We're getting some good adoption on the watches, so that's good. Everyone keep watching it, like it. Now, who knows? Maybe we'll take this thing to Joe Rogan level. I don't know.
Look, I know you just want to be TikTok famous, and that's fine by me. You live your life.
Just be TikTok famous. Yep. Sell our ERP and be TikTok famous. So how was your weekend?
It was good, man. Just, college football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday. So took the kids to the park, played outside in between. So try to be a present father during football season, but it's tough.
Yeah. You think divorce rates go up during football season? Probably do, right?
Probably,
between football season, like hunting season, I don't know.
Hunting season's got to be worse because at least football, you're home.
Right, right.
But, yeah, hunting season, man, back when I was in North Carolina, I used to do a lot of waterfowl. I'd be gone. I mean, get a text to be like, where are you? And be like, I've been gone since 3 a.m. So,
yeah. It's lucky we have boys, so maybe we can get away with that in the future. We can get away with just, the kids want to go do this, and then we're out in the woods all day. So
fingers crossed. Joseph, my oldest, told me he wants to go golfing this weekend, so got to make that happen. Not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
That's how you get away with getting a golf membership. You say, it's for the kids. What do you mean? It's not for me. Kids want to go. I don't want to go.
Exactly.
It's a lot of work. I hate leaving home. But yeah, no, same here. Just we're lucky here in southern New Jersey that we still have 80-degree weekends in October. So went to the beach, did some soccer, did some fishing. We're gonna ride this little nice weather pattern as long as we can, because eventually we all know it's gonna drop out. So just enjoying it. But so tell our listeners what we got in store for them today, Brandon.
Well, should be a pretty interesting episode. We're going to talk about the worst part and the best part of an ERP, and that's the implementation. And, give some guidance, some good content there on what to do, what not to do. We have a really awesome guest who's, been around implementations once or twice, maybe 3 times. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But it'll be good. I'm excited to hear about it. It's it's kind of an not unknown, but a not talked about thing. But
that's a pretty good way of saying it. If a lot of companies, when they go into the process of thinking about purchasing a new ERP software and buying one, they start Googling things. And if you Google anything regarding ERP, right, the first thing you always see is failed implementations. It was a train wreck. We're out $1 million. We're this and that. And it's okay, hold on. There's a way to avoid this. Yes, there is a lot of horror stories about ERP implementations and purchases, etc. But if you prepare the right way, you're with a good partner, you're going to be set up for success. So They don't all have to go that way. We've heard the stories ourselves, you and I, of people calling us and saying, hey, this is going south. Can you help me? We're mid-implementation, and we can come in and save the day. I mean, that's what SolutionsX does. So we have a pretty great reputation, and we're here today to kind of share our knowledge, share our wealth, and tell folks how you can set up for success, be set up for success. So looking forward to it. So so let's bring in our guest, Brian Miller. Let's bring him on in.
Hey, good morning,
guys.
Hey,
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I thought we were here to talk about football.
We can.
We could talk about how Josh Allen blew it yesterday. I'm not even a Bills fan, but
my Buckeyes did good. My Brownies not so much. But we'll leave that for another episode, I guess. I could talk about the Browns for an hour, but it would be pretty impressive. So what do we got going on today?
Oh man, so we figured, hey, if there's one guy who can talk about ERP implementations, what makes a good partnership, how to make sure that your company is set up for success, we figured, hey, Brian Miller is our guy. And luckily enough, we have him on our team here at SolutionsX as the Vice President of Operations. So we're very lucky for that. But Brian, why don't you just go ahead and start off by telling our listeners who you are and what you do here?
Sure. Thanks, Rob. So as Rob mentioned, I'm the Senior VP of Ops for SolutionsX. And that just means I lead the delivery team for our Cloud Suite industrial implementations and post-go live support. So my background, I started my career with 20 plus years in manufacturing, mainly capital equipment, some processing and things like that. My degree is in engineering, but quickly moved into operations, throughout that stint, and even into some IT admin, which got me introduced to the administrative side of ERP and managing servers and users and all of that kind of fun stuff. So, throughout my career, I rose up through different positions in engineering, ops, general management, even some accounting-based positions. So pretty wide breadth of experience there. From that, then I moved into the consulting world about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, here with SolutionsX. So, as an implementer for, the first 5 or so years, and then moving into more leadership position, it's given me a really nice background, all the way from, user, kind of bottom level user from just ERP startup through administration, executive leadership, and then on the implementation side as well. So, I've kind of lived all aspects of the ERP product cycle.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, having that, I think coming from having the experience of being a user and then now being on the side of implementing it, I think goes a very long way, because you can kind of relate with our customers, people buying the software, and that kind of puts them at ease a little bit. So yeah, that's huge. So before we brought you in, Brian, we were talking about how a lot of times when companies are getting involved in starting an ERP project, they start Googling things, and unfortunately, they don't always read great things about ERP implementations. So I'm curious, why do you think ERP projects have a bad reputation and being complex or risky even?
Sure. Well, the product by nature is complex, right? So the ERP software touches all aspects of the business, right? Whether you're in sales or engineering, operations, accounting, everything touches that ERP software. And so when you undertake projects like these, it involves the entire business, right? So you've got all different aspects of your staffing involved. You've got all different areas of the business. Sometimes those are a bit siloed. There's typically a lot of legacy systems that have lived on for years and years and kind of taken on a life of their own. And so you're by nature kind of upsetting that apple cart, right? All for the greater good. And that's the kind of the risk here is also the beauty of the software, because if implemented well, it touches every part of your business and fully integrates. So that's typically what folks get nervous about, but it's probably the most important thing, even above the software choice, is the implementation method, right? And getting that right from an organizational standpoint, and really understanding where the pitfalls can lie, and focusing on doing those things well.
Yeah, and you kind of hit on something there that we focus on, me being on the net new side, so out there meeting with companies and selling the software. We hear a lot. I shouldn't say we hear a lot. We kind of talk a lot about, look, a lot of these tier 1, tier 2 ERP systems, A lot of them are very robust today. They're all touching most of the business. They all can do a pretty decent job. Some of them do things a lot better than others, right? Thank God Cloud Suite Industrial is top of the chain when it comes to SMB manufacturing. But so we're lucky in that part. But we always do try to help companies understand it's also just as important as buying the correct ERP. It's also just as important as selecting the right partner. And then we go into our presentation on what makes us so great, and our success rate on implementations and our customer retention, et cetera. So yeah, no, that's a huge part of it for sure. What do you think some of the top mistakes that companies make in this process?
Yeah, so there's kind of three areas that we see on a recurring basis that folks struggle with, or maybe to flip that around, that they need to really focus on to be successful, right? One is executive alignment. I'll get into that a little bit more here in a moment. Project governance, right? So managing the project well and making sure that things are moving forward, in an organized way and to the plan. And then change management, right? So that's, OCM is like a hot button right now, and really understanding how to manage your team and bring them forward into the future with these products is super critical.
So you mentioned executive alignment. What does kind of like a poor executive alignment and a good executive alignment look like to you?
Yeah, so these, like we've said already, these projects are large in scale. They touch all areas of the business, and they take a lot of time and effort from the team. So you've got folks from all over the business involved. And we kind of joke on our side to say that if you had time to implement an ERP project, you probably weren't doing your job, or weren't necessary anyway, right? Because nobody these days has that kind of time. So we call it executive sponsorship, right? When you have somebody within the organization, usually top of the chain, maybe CEO or CFO, some top level COO even, that really is driving the priority of the project through the business, right? Because the team is going to run into situations where they're strapped for time, right? Or they have conflicting interests, competing priorities, all of those things. And they need to know from the top down that they have the support of the leadership team to drive the right decisions so that the project doesn't suffer, right? So that involves things like planning for alternate resources, right? Offloading project activities, maybe even regular duties, right? To some other staff, perhaps bringing in folks from other areas, or just finding a way to balance that load, right? Because, while the ERP projects they kind of ebb and flow a little bit, we have a fancy whale diagram that shows when certain parts of the project are going to be more intense than others. But in general, you're going to spend, as a team member, probably 20-25% of your time on average over the duration of the project. And these projects run anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, right, depending on the size and scope of the project itself. And so that just really means that the executive team has to take an active role in managing their teams and really setting the tone within the organization for success.
Sounds like there's a lot to that. Is there anything else that we should be pertinent to on this?
Yeah, unfortunately, there is some more that we deal with, and that has to do with how do we react when things don't go, 100% as we're working through the project. Happens on every project, right? We've got things where we need to course correct, and feedback that needs to be provided. And our approach is to take, the promise of quick, candid feedback immediately to the team, whether that be to the project lead, that's part of the PMO, or even up to the steering committee, which is usually the executive leadership team and maybe even the executive sponsor themselves, right? So one thing that we see, unfortunately, is that executives, being the typical type A personalities that they are, and leaders in their industries, they oftentimes feel that they know the best way to run the projects, right? And that's often not the case. We want them to remember that, they brought us in as the experts, and we want them to listen to our guidance and help them follow through and be successful, right? So, those are some things that we encounter, not all the time, but often enough that needs to be a focus, right? We've got some customers that are totally bought in. Maybe you've been through an ERP project before, maybe several, but we've been through several hundred, right? And so we've got that experience and background to bring that knowledge to your project and help you work through it.
Awesome. Yeah, there's that's something that we forget, or that I think maybe I don't harp on enough, is we have the experience of hundreds of implementations, years and years and years on this side. We're here to help. So while you've done this once or twice, hopefully not 3 times, this is our day-to-day job. So I did want to talk more about, one of the things you said, 2 of the things you said, underestimating change management and weak project governance. What do you see that represents weak project governance?
Yeah, so our project managers on our side of the table, they take their jobs very seriously, right? And they work very closely with what we refer to as the project lead on the customer side. One pitfall that we see is either not assigning an appropriate project lead from the customer side, right? Or perhaps bringing someone in that doesn't have the capacity. I referred earlier to kind of a 20 to 25% commitment for team members throughout the project. When it comes to the PMO or the project lead, that number goes way up, right? It's more like 60 to 70% of their time throughout the project, because they really need to focus on driving internal activity. Now, of course, we help with that, right? And we bring them along the way. But that's oftentimes either underestimated or overlooked. Or, to kind of back up the last comment or topic we were talking about, they're not provided with the appropriate authority to drive the activity through the business, right? So project managers, I always say, is a tough job because you have to lead without authority. And it takes somebody that's a special person to be able to do that, especially sometimes when the projects can be challenging or maybe not the top priority for everybody that's on the team. So those lead to a lot of challenges when it comes to the project management and project governance.
So Brian, I was hoping we could touch on project scope a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great topic. So, as we mentioned earlier, the software is pretty vast in its capabilities, and there's always a desire to use it to its full capacity, right? So it's kind of like a kid with a new toy, right? You get it and you want to do everything that it can do, and that can be a little bit challenging. So we take a lot of care in scoping the project up front, with Rob and the sales team, and with that we develop a budget, a timeline, and we hold pretty tightly to that. Now we're always going to have situations where there's appropriate scope creep or change in scope, but that needs to be managed effectively, right? We can't just pull some things in without affecting others, right? So there's an adage about 2 of the 3 that you can keep, but not you change one of those things and it affects the whole thing. So oftentimes our projects end up with a phase 2 to take care of some of the scope. But as we go through the project and we identify scope changes, we're careful to define them out, get approval from the leadership team, adjust things like budget and timeline to make sure it's appropriate for the changes. And really, some of that is really just, we call it herding the cats, right? Keeping the team on course and not chasing that shiny new thing, or if we have a need to pull in some functionality, really do it in an appropriate way.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Brian, I'm curious, what is it about underestimating change management that, our listeners and, hopefully potential customers out there, what is it that they need to know about that?
Yeah. So this is more of a people problem than a software problem, right? So, we're all kind of uncomfortable with, maybe even resistant to change. Some folks are by nature. So projects like these that impact us so greatly in our everyday work can be impactful to that and difficult to manage, right? So whether folks feel that maybe the new project is unnecessary, or the current solution is just fine, they sometimes take a little bit of extra care to bring them forward, right? So there's kind of two levels of this. Generally, we have coaching of the leadership and the team on the customer side to help them bring folks forward. We find that communication with the team is really the key ingredient here, right? And involving them in the process, right? Nobody wants to just be delivered something that they weren't involved with. So the best projects that we see are those that have the entire team, and hopefully even the entire organization, involved in the selection process and really understanding the benefits of the implementation. That said, there's always the chance that you've got some challenges with either individuals or teams, or maybe the functionality that's changing is impactful in a certain way. So we work closely with the customer teams to really help understand and appreciate the reason things are coming forward, and then react to those concerns that they have, because they're oftentimes valid. When we come in the door, we know the software really well. We know the implementation methodology really well. We don't know the underlying circumstances within your business, right? So we work with your team to understand those things and really dial in the impacts so that it can be most effective, right? And quell any concerns along the way. So that's a big deal. One thing we see, unfortunately, at times is leadership teams that will try to kind of heavy-handed or force things through on customers. It's not often, but we do see it from time to time, and that's just not a good solution, right? Nobody likes to be force-fed something like an ERP project. It's so important for them to have involvement in the decision-making, and really, if nothing else, explanation as to the why, right? Everybody wants to know why we're doing this, and how is it going to help me out in the future, right? So our team is excellent at helping our customer teams understand that, especially our project management group.
Yeah. So, for our listeners out there, as you can see, there really is a lot that can go wrong in an implementation. So all the stuff you are reading on Google and when you research this stuff, yeah, it could be true. It's very possible true. So, being that there is so many things that can go wrong, our team here at SolutionsX, as you just said, is very experienced, and I think we bring a combined total of over 500 years of experience in ERP and in manufacturing. And so, what is it about our team that makes us, our success rate's very high, 250 plus implementations, all of them being successful. And we don't judge success here at SolutionsX by just saying, hey, you're live. That's not, we want to make sure that not only are you live, but it's doing everything you want it to do. It's working for you. You're seeing the value. You're liking your purchase. You're liking your decisions, et cetera. So what do you think it is that our team does so well to make sure that the project goes smoothly and we get across that finish line successfully?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rob. And the reality is there's no magic bullet, right? But it's a combination of things. One thing we always say is that we're business advisors first, and then software consultants. And that means we come in and we understand your business, and we really help design out the process before we even get into the nuts and bolts of the ERP, right? We get an understanding of what's important to you and your team, and how it can be impactful to your business operations in the long term. That said, that comes from bringing in folks that have 20 plus years of manufacturing experience, right? We've lived the life. Take me as the example, right? I've been user, admin, leader, implementer, and all of those things, right? Now, all of our team has been handpicked to fit that mold, right? So we've got folks with, like you said, I think we're over 500 years of experience, which is incredible. Now that gets us so far. Now, what else do we do to be proactive? So we have a program that we implemented called SuccessX, and that's it's unique to SolutionsX, and it provides us with a platform to do a few things, right? So one key component of that is immediate feedback, interactive feedback from the customer team, and that's executed in the form of some bi-weekly surveys. So we've got near immediate feedback from the project team to say, hey, I'm having some concerns here, or I'm struggling in this area, or these are the challenges that I'm seeing. And we get some interesting feedback from that, right? That folks wouldn't normally raise their hand in the midst of a meeting, right? Nobody wants to be the guy in the room out of 10 people that isn't quite sure what he should be doing or what's going on. So we provide them with a platform to give us that feedback to help. And it's also a reflection on us. You know, how are we doing with your team? How is our delivery being received? Not everybody learns the same way, right? So we react as best we can to that through that feedback, right? In addition to that, we have some tools that are included in that program that allow us to monitor the team's activity, right? Who's doing their homework, so to speak, right? And who's getting in the system? Who's doing the reps? Are we having a problem in a certain area because they're not leveraging the software? They're not doing those things that are supposed to be bringing them along. So we have some tools, again, bespoke to us, that are unique and allow us that insight into those activities. So that goes along with, kind of reiterates as a callback to what I mentioned earlier about that candid feedback, right? To both the PMO team and also the executive team through the steering committee meetings. And so we feel that that's an excellent way to follow the project through, to head off any issues before they become impactful to the project or the timeline, and really understand things. You know, it's funny because our team internally was a little bit nervous about these at the onset, right? Because anytime you're sending out feedback and you're asking to be rated, people might get a little nervous about that. But it's been a fantastic experience. You know, we get really good feedback from folks. And good feedback doesn't just mean, hey, we're doing great. Good feedback can mean, hey, we need some help in this area, or you know, this session didn't go well and I didn't get what I needed out of it. So without that feedback, there's a good chance we would have never known that. And then that would have festered on through the project and we wouldn't have been able to react. So it's really helpful to us. And that really makes a significant impact in our project success.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of information here that we just talked about, but what I really want to know is, what can companies do to set up their teams for success in an ERP implementation? I know we've talked about some things, but you know, can we really drive that home and on a positive note?
Sure. You know, probably the biggest thing that we see, or the best piece of advice I can give, is to treat a project as a business transformation. You know, oftentimes we see these as IT projects because the IT manager was the one to go out and find options, right? Or find resources. It's natural to think software, IT, all of that. But as we talked about earlier in the episode, we know that the software touches all areas of the business, right? And it brings the areas of the business together. It provides information. You know, data is such an important aspect of our lives, right? So 30 years ago, when I was starting out in manufacturing, you know, data meant, you know, some reports that ran once a week, and, you know, you'd sit in a room the following week and 10 people would sit around a production meeting and we'd evaluate charts and graphs and things that were, you know, 2 weeks behind. Now we've got real-time data. We've got live business analytics coming back to us in systems. We're having interactive decision making through the software immediately, right? So it's really transformational to your business. So that's the first thing. Next, a key component to success, no pun intended, is participation in our SuccessX program, right? Because it provides that platform for continuous feedback and really recognition of either challenges or maybe issues as the project's going along. And then lastly, if we're nailing it down to three, I would say lastly, and probably the most important, is please listen to us. When we come in and provide some guidance to you for your project execution, right? So, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes folks think that they have the magic pill, they know the way, they've been there before. I did this 10 years ago with my last customer. Well, we did this 10 times in the past 6 months, right? So we've got, we've usually got 15 to 25 active projects going at any given time. And so please allow us to advise you and provide you with the support. Now, that doesn't mean we're just going to cram it down your throat, right? But we want to understand how it's impacting your business and certainly understand the uniqueness that you might have in your business conditions. But that said, hired us to be the expert. These projects are large, they're expensive, they're disruptive to your business, right? That's just the nature of the beast. So you want to take the advice of somebody who's been there before and will continue to be there for a long time in the future.
Well said.
Yeah, that's a pretty great way to can't talk today. Great way to wrap it up. And I would actually throw one more thing in there. It's, a lot of times when we're on those net new calls, when we're sitting in the conference rooms of these companies, we like to tell them up front, don't look at this as a purchase. This is a partnership that you are starting. Okay. And we will tell CEOs, executives right to their face. If you're looking for just to purchase a software, implement it, and us go away, tell us now, because we're not interested. Because that's not going to be successful to you or to us. That's not going to work. And usually when we say that, it really does validate that we're there to make sure that they're successful. And so that would be my advice to companies: is do not look at ERP purchase as just a purchase and an implementation. Just know you're going to get into a lengthy partnership. So luckily for us, we're very good at it. We've been doing it for a long time, like you said, Brian, and I think we're going to continue that for a very, very long time in the future. So just know it's a partnership. It's not a purchase.
Absolutely. Great point, Rob.
All right. Yeah. So Brian, thanks for the time, man. That was awesome. That was some really, really good insights. No problem. And as you know, we like to play our game at the end, right? Top three. And today's topic is war movies. So, Brian, since you're our guest, why don't you go first?
All right. So my top pick by far is it's a little bit of a tricky one because it's a series, not a movie, but I'm sticking with it anyway, and that's Band of Brothers. Far and above all the others, right? It's tough to get through, right? It's very informational, but it's fantastic. So that's my number one. Switching gears a little bit to something a little lighter. Number two, I've got Good Morning Vietnam. One of my favorite. Good Morning Vietnam. Robin Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome movie. And then I'm going to go way back and show my age a little bit and call out Red Dawn from the 80s. So Brandon, I think, has seen that one. I don't know if Rob has. You guys are younger, but it's quite the cast of people who were famous, but not yet, right? So Patrick Swayze and Rob Lowe, I think, was in it. There's quite a few people in there that C. Thomas Howell that became big names after the fact, but It's pretty cool, and it's a little different spin, right? It's a kind of apocalyptic Russia taking over the U.S., invading on our soil. So those would be my top three.
Oh, geez, Brian. Yeah, you're throwing out Russia invading the U.S. Now. The FBI and CIA is going to be looking at our podcast. Thanks a lot. All right,
I'm ready.
Yeah. All right, cool, awesome. Brandon, why don't you go?
Well, Brian took my number one, which was Band of Brothers. I was a paratrooper, so that was like a must-watch for everybody. I watched it before I joined the Army, but it's I remember watching that in the pack shed before we would jump. Super fantastic series. But I'm going to go, this was a tough one. I think Saving Private Ryan is got to be up there. Fantastic film. Also a star-studded cast.
Absolutely.
But that's a good one. Black Hawk Down is another great one.
Yeah.
Damn it, Brandon, you're taking all mine.
Good.
So far, you took my top two.
And then, all right, I'll throw one I know you don't have on there. Apocalypse Now.
I don't have that.
A fantastic movie too. A little bit, Vietnam, but still fantastic.
Okay.
Bobby, all you.
All right. Number one for me is 13 Hours, Benghazi story. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
Second, I'm going to go with American Sniper. And then number three, toss up here between two. I'm going to go Fury. Fury with Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf. I'm gonna go with that as my third.
When Fury came out, a bunch of people that I was stationed with shaved their hair like Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah, Brad Pitt. Yeah.
Super not in military regulations, and so many people had shaved heads right after that because you can't have that haircut. But yeah, great movie.
Yeah, it's and now the military's got to be real clean shaved. I don't know if you. Yeah, it's very good.
Back to the roots.
Rob, I don't think I've seen Fury, so I'll have to put that one on my list.
No, it's a good. Yeah, yep, good movie. Good movie. All right, so Brian had Band of Brothers, Good Morning Vietnam, and Red Dawn. Brandon, you had Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, and Apocalypse Now. And I had 13 Hours, Benghazi Story, American Sniper, and Fury. So pretty good list all around.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of ground there for sure.
Yeah, my third one was a tie between Fury and Lone Survivor, the story about Marcus Luttrell and all those guys.
Yeah,
Red Wings, Operation Red Wings. So, all right, well, boys, it's been great. Another episode in the books. Brian, once again, thank you. We know you're a very busy guy. Appreciate you taking time and hanging out with us.
Yeah, this is cool, man. I love it.
Sharing your insights.
Hope to be back for another episode.
I think we could probably fit you.
Yeah, we'll see how the ratings do. We'll let you know.
No guarantees, right, Rob?
No guarantees. Yeah.
All right.
All right, boys. Well, hey, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.
Hey, this is Brandon from Boots on the Ground Podcast. Please like and subscribe.